of rugby league players. He seems to be universally popular with the people that spend any great deal of time watching him, and I can't fathom out why. So, maybe that's the answer to the question. I don't know.
There you go.
Okay, what's next?
Sorry, I'm just writing down the potential show name.
All right, excellent.
The next question comes from Fatboy Rob, and we're going to have a few from Fatboy Rob, even more as we go through. But this one is...
Sorry, do you have images of Fatboy Rob sat on the loo doing one question and then going, oh no, there's another, and then sending it, and then, oh bloody hell, and then Mrs. Fatboy's downstairs going,
with
Robert, you've had a 20-minute poo. Are you watching porn? And I don't know why she sounds like, oh, did you watch the new League of Gentlemen?
No, I've not seen it yet, no. Sorry.
No, it's all right.
Apologies.
No, the noise I just made after it probably tells you all you need to know.
Not that great.
Never go back. Well, good, but not as good as it used to be.
Is that just because we remember it more fondly? Because we were a lot more adolescent at the time it was out?
I think so, yeah.
Okay, anyway, Rob says, do either of you have any rugby and non-rugby related New Year's resolutions?
Yes, I do. I want to get to more live games next year.
More than 4.
You
didn't even get to all the live games you could have got to.
No, I know.
So we're about 3.5 games at the back.
But I intend to get to more live games. Erin's getting that little bit older. Max has registered an interest in going and seeing rugby league. So certainly once the summer kicks off, I'd like to take the kids down a little bit more and do that. So that's my first resolution. And then my non-rugby related resolution is always the same each year. And I achieved it last year and then fucking undermined myself. So just to be smaller. And just to take up less space, I think, probably my resolution. I was doing all right until I got happy, and then started nesting.
You've also got a bigger car now, so
I got a bigger car.
When you're moving around, you take up more space.
Yeah, I mean when I'm not in it.
Last year I had one, didn't I? That was to see at least 2 games as a neutral at every level, and I ended up not seeing any League One games other than the League One Cup final because I ended up going to see.
You went to watch Swinton in the Cup, though.
4 or 5 championship games plus the Summer Bash plus the finals and stuff. So I didn't quite make that last year. So maybe I should have that on there again for this year.
Yeah.
And in terms of non-rugby related ones, I want to talk less and read more. Because I've got to grow in and watch TV less. Talk less and watch TV less. And read more and sort of deliberate more and be a bit more introspective maybe, I don't know.
Yeah.
And I want to try and work on my book that I'm planning on writing.
Very good.
About the Lancashire coast. So there you go.
There you are.
Yeah. Well, given that I was born there, married there and...
Is this a work of fiction or a non-fiction?
No, it'll be a walking guide.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Fascinating.
That's the plan. I started working on it, but it's, not...
Well, we'll have other projects, haven't we?
Yeah.
Very good.
Like this.
Like this, exactly.
Like this.
There you go. Okay. Fatboy Rob, another. Do you get more listeners on a normal week, i.e. a full round of matches, or for one-offs, i.e. cup final, end of season meaningless cup competitions, etc.? I think he means grand finals.
Cup final?
Sorry, I know, I've just these ideas keep popping into my head. Have you seen Luke Gale's hair transplant? I immediately thought of you.
Has he actually had a hair transplant?
See, I think so,
yeah. Are you sure it's not a gag?
No, because there was stuff from the hair transplant people as well, talking about what a wonderful patient he was.
Okay. No, I've not then.
Yeah, he's had a hair transplant.
Pass me by.
It looks a bit like if...
I'm getting way worse.
He looks a bit like if Drake was very poorly. That's the only way I can describe it. Because they have to take it all off and then put it on, don't they?
I don't know how it works.
It just looks really... It just looks like he got really short. He looks like a drug dealer, to be honest, now. One of these flash car with his denim on and his short hair, so, yeah.
Right.
It raises a smile. Sorry. More listeners. This is definitely one for you. I think I know the answer.
The cup rounds and the cup final tend to be lower than normal rounds. We get a spike around the start, particularly around the season predictions and previews, and we get a spike around the semi-finals, grand final. So actually, in the playoff stages, there's more interest than there is in the cup stages. But bread and butter is the weekly round, the weekly playoff rounds, the weekly Super 8s rounds, or what have you.
Tend not to
because there's more teams involved. If something controversial happens, might get a few more listens.
Yeah.
If something bad happens to Wigan, I think more people who are casual listeners want to make sure they listen to see like how
Mark rant.
distraught I am and that sort of stuff. So yeah, but like the World Cup ones barely registered a blip compared. Like they're about half as much listens as normal shows. Probably because we did nothing to actually say that they were there other than put them there.
They were for our season listeners, weren't they? Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Do you reply to tweets during your morning dump? Asks Rob.
I don't do a morning dump. I'm not a regimented get up for a shit first thing kind of guy. But
and these days
I do reply to tweets when I'm doing a dump. But and normally it's middle of the afternoon in the office type scenario.
Yeah, it's quite
if you get a reply from me on a weekday during working hours, I'm probably doing a shit.
There you go.
How about you? You don't even look at tweets anymore.
I sometimes do. I have taken myself away. I'll be getting back on it.
It's my show, and you just turn up sometimes.
That's just turn up for the presents. I'm here for the beer and the bitches. I used to, but I don't dump in the morning. I'm more of a mid-morning person. Okay, do you think Bradford will piss League One now they've got Uncle Two Skulls?
Well, this is for you, this one more.
Well, I don't want to be sorry to say I think they'll piss League One, because I think for the level of competition that they're at in terms of the squad that they've got and the means at their disposal, they're going to have some tough games, and they'll have to, there's a lot of big derbies coming up for us in terms of teams that want us, want to turn us over. So teams will raise their game for Bradford, and this is all that we were talking about when we got relegated to the Championship. But I do think John Keir is a very, very strong appointment for a number of reasons. He knows that level of the sport. He knows kind of the lower tiers of rugby better than perhaps some would do. So that's strong. He's going to motivate the players to play. That's very, very important. And he knows how to build a rugby league team that can survive out there and match people in the physical battle and earn the right to play, which is great. And I think compared to some of the recent coaching appointments, it's one of the most sensible ones that we've made. If you think like Tuvey, well, it was, I think, a flash in the pan and an idea to kind of appease the fans that didn't pay off, because Lee Beattie was doing it all in but name. Prior to that, young Rowan Smith, good idea in principle to give a young up-and-coming coach an opportunity, but he was on an uphill slope the entire time. And prior to that, as much as we all...
Well, it came into a shitstorm.
Exactly. Prior to that, as much as we all rate Jimmy Lowes as a player, I think he's gone on to prove it just wasn't the right appointment for a coach. So this is since the appointment of Brian Potter, of Michael Potter. Although to be fair, it's felt like we've had Brian Potter in charge at times. I think since we put Mick Potter in charge, this is probably the strongest appointment we could have possibly made. And obviously, John Keir has a very special place in our hearts in terms of the show and in terms of my admiration of the man. So I was very, very excited. Yeah, I think we'll do well. I think we should probably... Look, the target has to be to win every game. There's no one that we should be looking at and thinking, we might not beat them. And the target has to be promotion. Absolutely. So I don't think we're pissed.
Yeah, end of season playoffs should happen, shouldn't it?
That's got to be the aim. Absolutely. And the recruitment is coming along steadily. We do need to get 3 or 4 Grizzly forwards in, I think, just to kind of protect some of the youngsters that we've got in. But there's some experience in there. Ash Gibson, Lee Smith, people like that. They bring... But tons of experience.
The level of conditioning that you're playing up against and stuff at that level.
Yeah.
There's only really Whitehaven who've basically bought the best players from the closest rivals.
Yeah.
And had a reasonable squad in terms of quality, but not in terms of depth last year.
Yeah.
They're the only real team that you've got to properly be concerned about. Yeah. Obviously,
and Leon Price is very new to coaching in terms of that role. And if he coaches like he captained when he was at Bradford last season, he's got a learning curve to catch up to.
But he's going to have some good experienced players out there, and isn't he at Workington?
Workington. Well, Whitehaven will be fine.
Well, Carl Forster, who did a good job.
Carl Forster, who's a phenomenally talented young coach. I'm miles off. Yes,
but
either way.
Final one in this. No, we've got no more from Rob for a while.
No more from Rob for a while.
We move on to Wire Joe 90.
Yes.
Obviously, he's our actor friend who's getting married this year. He says, given the upcoming nuptials, what would you advise as the best way for me to clandestinely get RL into the wedding day?
Well, I assume you'll have the same sort of answers as me. The first one is obviously colour scheme.
Yeah.
Which you will talk about in a bit more detail than I can, and how you managed to do that. Scheduling is my idea. If you can quietly schedule your wedding around the time of a cup final, for argument's sake, or a grand final.
So you could make the cup final the centrepiece of the day.
What I'm saying, think of it this way: there's always something going on, or there's always that lag period between the ceremony and the wedding breakfast, isn't there?
Yeah.
Or there's a period of time. If you can, ever so quietly, gear the scheduling around to the point where there's this period of a couple of hours between a ceremony and a wedding breakfast where there's nothing to do.
Well, it'd be between the wedding breakfast and the night do. Have the Catalan-Warrington game going on at
possibly so, or have a cup final on. Maybe scheduling, maybe crafty scheduling is the way to go.
Yeah, well, obviously at my wedding we went for a red and white colour scheme, and I wore like Wigan ties.
You did.
The wedding party did. The bridesmaids were in cherry red dresses. We've got some cherry red runners to run over the white tablecloth so that the tables looked cherry, and it looked like they were cherry and white stripes. And then we had like a very, very simple one you can do is have like a candy buffet or whatever they call it, tubs of sweets out, and just do them pick sweets that are yellow, blue and white for Joe, and then he could have sort of Warrington colours on the sweets or something along those lines. They're the sort of things I would suggest. There has to be something blue, so that's could be a Warrington shirt. You could slip her as a gift as something blue on the wedding day.
And if Warrington is your theme, you could always just say you're going to get married, and then every year never do it.
A few people replied to this question, and one of them, and one of the things I suggested was that they could just get Benny Westwood to ring the bells.
There you go. Absolutely, that's a good one. I like that. Okay. Next question, Dr. Bob Phillips. Has a Tarquin or a Quintin ever played professional rugby league?
Well, you've been doing a bit of research. The first one that came to my mind was Quintin Pongia.
Yeah.
That's a player who used to play for Wigan, isn't it? Didn't he get like a hepatitis C and have to retire?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know the finer details of his life, but I do recognise the name. The other Quintin I came up with was QLT of Sheffield Eagles and now Featherstone Rovers. Quintin Lalu Tongagai. He also played. But then I did some more research to find if there are any more Quintins and Tarquins involved in rugby more generally, and of course there are. The current managing director of Bath Rugby Union is a chap called Tarquin MacDonald. So there you go. There is a Tarquin involved, but never mind.
In rugby union.
In rugby union, forgive me. But never mind. Players called Quintin. There's a fucking team called Quintin. Mark, London-based rugby union outfit Quintin RUFC, one of the oldest rugby union outfits.
You've researched the wrong sport.
I know, but I thought it'd be interesting. Well, there weren't many Quintins and fucking Tarquins.
That was the point of the question.
Oh, well, then I've fallen down a bit of a rabbit hole, and I'm bringing some facts to people. Let's get the rugby union chip off our shoulders. Quintin RFC, one of the oldest rugby union clubs in the country. Formed in 1883 in southern London.
1883?
1883.
All FC are older than that. Wigan are
older. One of.
There's plenty of team in the Northern Union that are older than that.
This is what I go to trouble. I go to trouble and I get the rug pulled out.
I Google when I'm on my lunch, I'm looking like I've done so.
Last 5 today it was. There you go. So there are Quintins and Tarquins in professional rugby league.
Lee Whitnell asks us, serious one from Lee this time.
Oh, yes.
How do we take the current crop of good halves that are coming through and turn them into worldies? Is an RFL halfback academy the answer? Does George Williams need to go to the NRL to complete his education or something else?
Well, first of all, this talk of this good crop, there's some talented kids out there. I don't think it's a good... we're not looking at 18, 19, 20-year-old halfbacks in our competition and comparing them to the lads that are doing the same in Australia. There's not like the next Cooper Cronk coming through. Do you know what I mean? We're not looking at kids who are 19, 20 going, he could be the next Cooper Cronk. We're looking at kids who are, these are good, these are okay, they could be good, but we're not seeing them put to the test enough.
They're not throwing any young players into
so I don't know how good this crop is, that's my point. I don't know how good they are, potentially. I think
the problem we have, compared to what Australia have, is they've got plenty of players 26 to 32 or whatever that are quality, that have had exposure to top level competition, whereas we don't have any of them.
Yeah,
really. I mean, we've got Gale, but Gale's only been like a playoff player for 2 to 3 years.
Yeah.
Kevin Brown has not always played in the halves in his career, not always played in playoff games in his career, not always played in finals, and never won a major final.
No.
And these are our experienced players that we're trying to rely on. So they're already not good enough.
Yeah.
So if we're judging the other guys against them and they're worse than them, we're thinking, God, they're not actually that promising, is what you're saying. But
I hope they prove me wrong, but
I'd like to look at it a different way, and I think it's what are they not? What are we perceiving them not to be good at? One of the things I think our halfbacks aren't as good at is weighing up the situation across the whole pitch, not just the little part.